Post-Capitalist Society by Peter F. Drucker is a 1993 non-fiction book about knowledge resources, its development and use over the last 2 centuries. The title of the book is not implying that capitalism will be done away with, but that capitalism will play a background role as we move into the future. The book is separated into 3 parts covering the society, polity, and then how knowledge will be used and created. The book argues that knowledge is the primary resource that developed nations run on, rather than capital. It is the handling and utilizing of this knowledge that allows groups to flourish. The gathering and teaching of specialized knowledge is a relatively recent event. Organizations are a recent invention, beginning at the turn of the 20th century. Organizations have a sole production purpose, and this purpose must be clear to the specialists working in the organization. Since organizations are ever-changing, this means the human resources will have turnover as well, depending on the knowledge resources the workers have. This allows workers to hold the means of production. The organization owns the tools of production, being the capital. Manual labor is no longer an asset because anyone can be trained to provide it. Manufacturing is becoming highly automated, and it is the knowledge worker that is in greater demand and is more useful for the economy. The major owner of capital in developing countries are pension funds. These funds must serve the interests of the pension fund owners, being the knowledge workers. Society must become responsibility-focused rather than power-focused. Organizations must take responsibility of their communities so that they may thrive into the future, but not gain political power. The problems organizations cause can be opportunities for it to solve. Looking at the polity section, Drucker reasons against the nanny and megastate. Government sets the rules, government sets the standards, government provides, but government does not do. Government therefore has to regain a modicum of performance capacity. It has to be turned around, but to turn around any institution requires always the same 3 steps: abandonment of things that do not work, concentration on the things that do work, and analysis of the half successes and half failures. The public and private sector will need to be supported by a new sector, the social sector. Volunteerism will need to be used more and will build a stronger sense of belonging for citizens. It is still unknown how knowledge interacts with productivity. There are 3 qualitative aspects to this, though. It is the improvement or refining of knowledge, the exploitation or using of knowledge, and the innovation or creating new knowledges. Schools will need to produce lifelong learners that are ready for the knowledge-based world. These learners need to focus on 2 things: content knowledge as well as processing knowledge. A good summary of the post-capitalist society that Drucker foresees is summed up on page 215. Post-capitalist society is both a knowledge society and a society of organizations, each dependent on the other and yet each very different in its concepts, views and values. Most, if not all, educated persons will practice their knowledge as members of an organization. The educated person will therefore have to be prepared to live and work simultaneously in 2 cultures, that of the intellectual, who focuses on words and ideas, and that of the manager, who focuses on people and work. In conclusion, Post-Capitalist Society is an interesting read. I feel it raises good points. However, I don't have the knowledge to provide a proper critique. I encourage a read of this book. This short summary does not give it justice. I'm sure this book is going to be marked down in the history books.